Hey everybody, welcome back to another DesignSpark Electrical overview and tutorial video. The last videos we covered were about the schematic overview as well as a line diagram overview. We started creating a small line diagram with our two connectors and a cable, and then we corresponded that same cable assembly to our schematic that we see here. Now, before we actually drew our cables, we drew our wires and turned them into a cable. So we're going to step back a little bit and we're going to talk about our wires and our wire styles. And at the top left here in the schematic tab, you have the ability to draw multiple wires or draw single wires. Now you can access what we call the wire style manager through either one of these two options, or you have the ability to go to the project tab, drop down configurations, and wire styles. Now these wire styles are all a part of this project and only this project. So when we first created this project from the project manager back in, I believe it was video 2, we use that template. These wire styles are a part of this particular template. Now, with that said, what I recommend doing going forward is that when we're done with this project, your first project, and you've defined a lot of your wire styles, your new wire styles, unless you decide to use these, create a template from that new project that you've just created. That way, all of the wire styles that you've just now edited or created new ones will be a part of that new template. So now you don't have to do this every time you start a project. So with that said, let's dive a little deeper into some of the features and functions and how to manipulate our wire style manager. So inside the wire style manager, you have the ability to add a new group, which we're going to do in just a second. You can add one individual wire style or multiple wires. And then from there, you have the ability to copy paste, which we're going to do for our wire styles here. And then you can change the numbering scheme on what you want to do. And it all depends what your ultimate goal is on your numbering scheme, whether or not you want to number them based off of each individual wire segment, or maybe between keep the equipotential between different pieces of equipment. So all the I/O would have the same wire number between it. And you also have the ability to display either at each end of the wire or just in the center of the wire. So in the case right now, we're using equipotential and we're just showing it in the center of that wire when we go to number them. Now inside of our wire styles here for this particular project, this is very generic. In a lot of cases, you're going to want to come right in here and start editing this information. The way they are organized, as you can see here, I have all my electrical lines, I have my hydraulic and pneumatic. If you don't use hydraulic and pneumatic, well, you can go ahead and just simply delete those out. If you ever want to add a new group, which we're going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and simply say add new group, and we have a new group. It's going to default and add one wire style in here that we can come in and edit. If I ever try to delete this wire style out of this group, if there's only one wire style left and I delete that one wire style, well, it also deletes the group. So just be aware of that you need to have at least one wire style in the group. So let me go ahead and re-add that wire group. And in this case here, I'm going to rename this to 16 gauge. So everything I'm going to put under this group here is going to be all 16 gauge wires. This is just how I personally like to set up my wire style manager, and I will set up another group and I will call this 20 gauge. So in this group, as I start building up my wires, I'm going to have all 16 gauge in here and all 20 gauge in here, and it'll just help me organize my projects, my wire styles inside my project a little better. It's just how I like to do it. Nothing says you have to do it this way, but I'm going to show you my method because I feel like this is an easier way to organize everything. So under the 16 gauge, we have our one wire style. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one wire style. I'm going to rename it to 16 gauge white. And now all I'm going to do is go through all the different options and add the data in as necessary. So it is a control line for this. If I want to change it to a phase 1 line or a protection line, so be it. I can change it to whatever type of conductor I want. It is a white wire, so I can obviously have a white background, so I don't want to choose white. If I choose this half black, half white color here, the reason why it's split like that, and you'll see this throughout different spots in the software, is if I'm running a black background, if I'm more comfortable using a black background, my wires will be white. And if I am using a white background, my color will be black. So it will automatically shift for that one purpose. So I'm going to keep this on here. So it will actually be a black wire for my white line. In this case, I have my line type, so I can go in and change whatever type of line type I desire. Line width, I usually reserve line width for hydraulic lines or pneumatic lines, or maybe something like a fiber line that I need to identify a little bit more, make it a little bit more readily available to see, rather than just a basic line. The formulas, my equipotential formula and wire formula, we will cover that in a separate video because there is a lot you can do with your formulas. And the formulas here that we're talking about are referring to our wire style, our wire numbering scheme that we have, so we can automatically number all of our wires. We can go into our first wire style and we can change this first one, and then we can copy this to an existing one. So I will cover this in a second video about our wire styles and wire style manager, probably following this video that I'm recording right now for you. Following this is we have our diameter. So we can set a specific diameter. We can also set our gauge. We know it's 16. We can also set our wire color. Even though we set a wire color for the what color it's going to be on our sheet, we have to define the color that we want it to see. So in our report, we will see that it is a white cable or a white wire. Then we also have bend radius. We can define that, and it is times the diameter. So whatever number I put in here, it will multiply it based off of the diameter that we have in here. Things that we would most likely want to put in a bend radius for is obviously larger diameter cables, wires such as maybe 12 gauge, 10 gauge, 00, those larger sizes that we work with. Fiber optics or RF lines are important too, to make sure we don't snap those lines. So the more information you put into these, and this goes for manufacturer parts as well, the better results you're going to get inside of your bill of materials and your to from wireless going forward. You can also add information about voltage, if there's specific voltages that are restricted for this type of wire that we're using, and maybe even just a basic description about what this wire is. You can also add additional information, maybe what kind of coating is on this, what's the insulation made of, maybe Teflon, something like that. Whatever it may be, you can add that as well. So once I figure out all the information I want, we now have our new wire style. So instead of going in and creating another and adding a new one to this, I'm going to simply copy this. But if I simply say copy paste, it's going to go ahead and create, and you'll see here, it creates a multi-wire. So if I do that again, I can paste it. Now I have 3 conductors inside this multi-wire. That's not what I want to do right now. I am still working on creating single wire styles. But if you desire you want to create a multi-wire, this is how you would do it to create multiple wire styles within inside that new multi-wire. I'm going to go ahead and delete these real quick. And we have our one wire style. So now I'm going to copy this again, but if I want to create an additional single wire style, I'm going to select the group, and then I'm going to paste it, and now I have 2 single wire styles in here. Now they are identical, as you can see here. All the information about this is the same, but we notice again, if you remember when we created that symbol, we get that +1. I'm going to go ahead and select that one, and I'm going to change this one to red. And I'll just simply run through and change all the information regarding this to red. and now I have a white line and I have a red line in here. And if I desire, now I can do that again, and we'll make it blue. So you get the idea that what we have here is just making it a little easier for myself to run through without having to change everything about this. Now, in my first wire, if I've already gone ahead and I've changed my formula and I've copied and pasted, now I don't have to go in and edit every single formula. If I desire to change any of that information after the fact, you do have the ability to highlight all of them and check the properties, and now certain information is available to change. Obviously, I can't change my wire name, but I can go in and I have the ability to change the formula for everything after the fact. As long as I've highlighted them all, I can change the diameter in here. So again, there's a lot of different pieces of information that I can change all of them at the same time if I needed to. So now that I've got these, I'm going to go ahead and copy all of those, and I'm going to add them to my next group. And now I can delete that other one out, or I can just edit it and make it another group. But let's go ahead, and I'm going to highlight all of these in the 20 gauge group now. And I can change this one to 20 gauge. I still have to come into each individual one and change the naming scheme, but overall I change the gauge, the properties for it the same. So there's little tips in there, little tricks to just kind of make it your job a little easier if you desire. Now you can take this entire group and you can copy everything and then create another group as well to create a 24 gauge or whatever it may be as well. But I strongly believe this is the easiest way to organize your wire styles and really have a nice clean wire style manager that is uniform across all your projects. Again, once you finish this inside of your first project, we'll save this as a template, which we'll show in another video down the road on how to create that template. But now, once you have this as a part of a template, you never have to come in here and edit all these different wire styles again. So to finish this up, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add a new connector. And I'm going to draw some wires, and we can see in order to add these particular wires, drop this over here to give us some more space. We have our wire style selector that appears. So in order to see that, you can see that the default right now, the last wire style I used was the 48 volt. We're going to select the 3 dots icon, and it will give us our wire style selector. We can access the manager through here as well to edit any of these, but I'm going to go ahead and find a 16 gauge. I'll find that white line. I have 8 wires. Even though it's a single line, it's going to be 8 of the same wire style. If I choose multi-wire, it's going to give me whatever properties of those, in this case, 5 different wires. And you can add as many different wire styles into a multi-wire. So in another project that I have created an Ethernet. So I have my orange, white, orange, my green, white, blue, my blue, white, green, brown, white, brown. I have all 8 wires inside of that, and I can draw all of them out at the same time. So in this case here, you can see that I've got my multi-wires. Again, spacebar allows you to manipulate how you want these to appear on the schematic. And that was a multi-wire, and our single wire, we can draw all 8 out at the same time, like so. So I hope that helped understanding your wire styles. We will get into formulas and creating formulas in a later video. It does get a little bit more advanced on setting that stuff up. But again, I hope this helps, and see you next time.